How do you study wild animal populations without disrupting their everyday lives? Scientists are constantly presented with the challenge of balancing the need to learn new information without being too invasive on the animals they are fighting to protect, especially an elusive animal like the owl. This is why scientists seek non-invasive methods to study wild animals in the field. Recently, biologists have been developing new tactics to gain insights on wildlife just by studying the sounds they make.
Bioacoustics is basically eavesdropping into the vocal communications of animals, and in many environments, like say a forest environment for birds, we can't often even see them, but we can still hear them, and we can eavesdrop into that, and by listening to these sounds and recording and analyzing them, we can gain insights into their behavior, presence, and activity. With bioacoustics, we can basically study anything that makes a sound. And so if it's birds, it's easy, we can hear them, we can use standard microphones. Bats, we just have to use ultrasonic microphones that can listen up at the frequencies that they make their calls. With things underwater, we use hydrophones. But if it makes a sound, we can record it and we can tell you something about it.
There are various bioacoustic software available that aid scientists in analyzing sound data. One program, which is currently being developed, is Sonobird.
I originally developed a software to tell different bat species apart, and in turn we realized that some of the techniques, the analytical techniques and algorithms we developed for processing the bat calls gave us benefit for fine-scale analysis and differentiating very similar bird signals. Well, we process the sounds in the sonograms, and sonograms are visual displays of the time and frequency and amplitude or sound energy of the sounds. And if we were a bat, we would probably want to process visual information into sounds because their brains are better at interpreting that way. But we're mostly visual interpreting creatures, and so we find it more convenient to be able to discern subtle differences between signals if we first process them into visual displays of the sounds. One of the basic things we need to know for conservation and management of species depends upon who's out there and knowing what species are out there and when they are there. And we need to be able to track their life histories, and techniques like banding allows us to be able to track individuals and hopefully recapture them. That gives us some information on their population numbers and their longevity and so on. But very often we just want to know who's there. And we can do that more effectively and a larger scale with bioacoustics by just listening into the animals, and of course it's a less invasive technique. It doesn't bother the animals, and we can, for example, just investigate aspects of behavior repeatedly day after day of the animals, which we could not do with capture surveys.
One of Professor Szewczak's graduate students is currently studying the calls of owls with this technology.
I'm using bioacoustics to model occupancy of small owls, multiple species of owls in the Central Sierras, basically within Yosemite National Park and the surrounding national forests. It's difficult to monitor populations of owls because basically the biology of humans and owls don't really match up. Owls are active during the night. Humans aren't adapted to be active during the night. So if we're going to invest a bunch of money in monitoring these species, we want to get the most information that we can, and by doing that we need to monitor when they're most active. So one of the benefits of having such a large data set of sound recordings is that you can look at many different species. You can also ask many different questions. You can coordinate with different people on different projects. You can also monitor if something comes up later. You can go back and look at these sound recordings and see what was going on then compared to what's going on now.
Where we'd like to next take this software and this endeavor is to improve basically how smart it is, and to get greater confidence in its ability to detect and make the decisions on what species we're looking to find in these recordings. And eventually have boxes that will make these decisions out in the field for us and just be reporting back to us who's out there instead of having to take the recordings back and then process them in the lab.
I think that bioacoustic methods will have a huge impact on wildlife management and conservation because we have the ability to get a lot of information on many different species in a very efficient manner. It's also very non-invasive, and as technology progresses, it'll just keep getting more and more cost-efficient and accessible to many different people.
Although traditional monitoring techniques such as bird banding provide critical information for wildlife research, scientists are always looking for non-invasive alternatives. The pairing of traditional methods with the new tools of bioacoustics may be the future of wildlife management and conservation.